That's one example of the box that I've made, and then this is another one, all using Stampin' Up products. You will notice in the middle here this catch. Now that is not a Stampin' Up product. That is actually a ring pull from a can of fizzy. So there's the ring pull. So you'll have to have a can of fizzy, enjoy that, and then keep this part because that's going to make the little clasp here. Now I saw a French demonstrator who actually made these, and it was all in French. They're great instructions, but when the video's in French, that does make it a little bit challenging, so I decided to make an English one. And this is the sheet that I used. It looks a little different to what she has used. So you'll notice that these black bits here, they're wedges that need to be cut out once the cardstock is scored and cut. So there'll be cut marks as well as these wedges to come out, and then you've got a rectangle here that needs to be cut out also, and that rectangle there we're going to use for other bits and pieces that we need to form the trunk. You'll notice that this box is closing a little bit better than the other example that I have. See how this one's open to fraction? Now I decided to try and put the extra shapes on the corner just to give it some reinforcement, and realised that actually makes the lid sit open a bit too much. So I'm not really happy with the final product there, but it's not too bad. Much more happier with this one here though, where it's sitting together more nicely. Now I've also put underneath here, you'll notice that there's a magnet, so that's a self-adhesive magnet. There's the positive, and then the negative is hiding underneath this piece of DSP here. So it closes up quite nicely. You can fill it with chockies or anything. Gift cards will fit in there, all sorts of things. The mind boggles as to how many options you have. So along the short edge, I need to score at 1/2 inch. So I'm going to move my trimmer blade out of the way and score at 1/2 inch. Now you'll be wondering, why is she doing that? That's crazy. What I am doing is I'm actually creating the strip that goes into the box and reinforces this edge inside here. So I noticed when I was putting mine together that by stepping it through in this sequence, I actually got the most out of my paper. So this is what we're doing. It's just a reinforced piece that stabilizes the box. Right, so I've scored at 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to move it along and I'm going to cut at 1 inch. So I don't need my scoring blade. Now I bring in my trimmer blade and I take off 1 inch there. So we've got a nice long strip, and we'll put that aside just for the moment, but that's going to be useful, so don't lose that at all. Okay, so step 2, after I've cut the long strip off, now I need to trim the cardstock to measure 7 1/4 inches by the length of the cardstock. So this is the length of the cardstock, that's A4 in Australian measurements, so I haven't taken anything off the length of it. I've taken the strip off here, the 1 inch strip. Now I'm going to cut this down to 7 1/4. So I think actually it will only be, so I'm going along 7 1/4. It'll only be a fraction that'll need to come off. So it's only a tiny little strip like that I'm cutting off, but it makes all the difference in the finished product. Okay, so step 4, I need to take this rectangle here out of my A4 piece. So 3 15/16 is right here, just before the 4 inches. So we'll line that up. Now we're going to do the 7 5/16. So I've actually put a strip of paper that with the measurements down the side of my trimmer here, and I need to go down to 7 5/16, which is almost 19 centimeters. So I'll take it down to here. And I won't go quite to the 19 centimeters there, which is about almost 7 1/4, almost 7 1/2, not quite this direction. So this is where we were cutting, and now I'm turning it anti-clockwise, and I'm going to put that up at 7 5/16. So 1 2 3 4 5/16, 7 5/16. All right, so now I'm going to cut from the bottom to that middle line there, and you can see I've actually gone a little bit too far there, so I've misjudged it slightly, but that won't matter. And there we go. So there is our rectangle that's been taken out, and then we're left with this piece here that is going to form our box. So using the trimmer on the short edge, so this is the short edge here, I am going to score at 1 1/2. Just orientating this, so yep, so this will be, I'm getting rid of my cutting blade, I'm scoring now, so I'm scoring at 1 1/2, and this score line will make the bottom of the box. So there'll be tabs along here, and they will form the bottom of the box. So that's 1 1/2. Then we need to move it along to 3 1/4. And you'll notice that that should line up with this bit here is cut. But if I move my scoring blade up here, I need to go across there. So that's the score I've made just now. This should line up with the cutting line, which is just there in my trimmer. And then I scored that last bit there. So 1 1/2 inches, 3 1/4 inches, and now we're doing 6 3/4 inches. So moving that along, and it should line up with also the 1/2 inch mark there. So this is just going to be a piece that folds over and reinforces the dome lid. Okay, now let's turn anti-clockwise again, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch. So I'm going to put it in. So here's 1/2 inch here. Okay, 1/2 inch. Then we need to do 3 5/16. So 3 15/16. I keep getting that one mixed up. So 3 15/16, which is almost at the 4 inch mark. All the way down. 6 1/16. 6 1/16. This one will form one of the sides, and then 9 9/16 of an inch. So 9 9/16. So it's just over 9 1/2 inches, and I'm just scoring down that section there. All right, so that's got all our scoring done. Actually, no, my apologies. we do need to bring the trimmer in once more because we need to get our piece of our 1-inch strip. So I need to make some shapes up. I need to make a strip of paper that has the dotted edge to it, and then I want the stitch shape here. So this one here will make a strip that goes across the dome of the trunk. These ones here, the stitch circles, will make these reinforced corners, and then this circle here will be what we use here. So that's just part of the half of the circle showing there. The other half is tucked inside there. So I'll go ahead and do that and get back to you in a moment. Okay, so I'm back again after doing the cutting on the Big Shot. So what I've done on the Big Shot is I've cut 4 of these stitch shapes, and they are from the Stitch Shapes framelits, and it is the smallest circle in those in that die set. So it's the smallest circle that I've used, and I've cut out those on the Big Shot. So 4 of those. Then these 2 circles here are from, I used the Layering Circles framelit dies, and it's the 5th smallest one. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the 5th, and that makes those 2 there. Now this strip here is actually a piece that I have made up. You'll notice that it's tapered, so it's wider at this end and narrower at this end. And the reason for that is that you will eventually thread it through the ring pull, and if you leave it the same thickness as this, it's not going to thread through there nicely. So see how I've tapered it down to thread it through. Okay, so what I've done there is I've used this die here, and that is from the Stitched Labels framelits. And in that set you also get this straight stitching line as well. So that's the one I've used. The width is perfect, so I've just had what I've done is I've had a piece of cardstock, just plain cardstock, and when you run this, turn it over and run it through the Big Shot, it leaves an indentation like this. Is that coming out in the video? There's an indentation there, and that's caused by, so one side will be stitched and then the indentation will be from this edge here. It makes that on the cardstock. So what I did was ran it through the Big Shot like that, which gave me a stitched edge here, and then I just used the trimmer to cut down the piece so that it was a tapered piece of paper. And then on the side that hasn't been stitched, put the die along it like that, and that's given me both sides being stitched now. Hope that makes sense. If you have a bit of a go at it and have the products in your hands, it'll be a lot simpler to understand. Okay, the magnetic dots, discs, I didn't show you. I just got these off, where did I get them? From craftonline.com.au. They're called Basic Grey Magnetic Snaps. They're round and small, obviously. So they've actually got adhesive on the back, and you'll notice that there's a positive and a negative pairs in all of those. Okay, so now we're going to burnish all of our score lines. that will go on top of the trunk, the lid. You'll have a rectangle here, a rectangle here, and 2 squares in there. Okay, so we've got that done. So this is the outside of my box, and these are the 4 pieces of DSP. Now what I want to do now is I want to create a bow or a curve in the lid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over like that and flip it around so that I've got the bottom of the lid is down here. So this is the bottom of the box is down here. And I'm going to get my bone folder, and the bone folder I'm going to put on this score line here, holding this tab with this hand, the bone folder in this hand. I'm going to put it on that score line, and I'm going to pull with this hand and push with this hand, and I'm going in that direction there. So I'm just going to, and I'm sort of lifting up at the same time. So, and what you're left with is it just softens up the paper, so that makes it a bit more willing to curve like that. Now we need to move on to doing the lid. So we're going to have to do something with these bits along the side. That's where these circles come in handy. So I'm going to have to fold those in half. And just burnish those so that they're nice, and that score line's nice and flat there. Now, this is a bit of a tricky bit. Make sure you've got your glue. I use Tombow. I think it's great for this. Make sure you've also got a baby wipe, because you do get a little bit sticky gluing this on, and you don't want to get you just want to wipe your fingers every time you feel a bit of glue there. It just means that you'll have a neater product at the project in the end, because you don't want to be getting glue over this area here. So that fits nicely into my hand. I'm going to squish it down a little bit. With my other hand, I'm going to poke those down like that. Now, this is where it gets a bit tricky. Multitasking. I'm going to put glue on 1/2, so the semicircle there, 1/2 of that circle. That's going to slip underneath here, and I'm going to line up my score line here with the score line at that edge of the box, that corner, and this score line on this side. And there is our dome lid. Ta-da! We just want to put a bit of glue on this tab here and fold that in like that. So that's just going in there. And then we need to start putting the box together. So this tab here needs some glue on it. Ta-da! Look at that. So it's a little bit wonky at the moment, but that's okay. All right, the next step is we need to do these little bits here. So these are the reinforcements that go here. So we'll fold that in half. So wrong sides together. And then in half again, also wrong sides together. All right, so there you go. It's been folded into quarters. I'm going to snip on that fold, one of the fold lines, just one fold line into the center. So along the fold line into the center. I'm going to put some glue on it. And then making sure that this cut, you want that on the bottom of your trunk. Okay, you don't want it to be on the sides. So if I put that there and fold it over like that, you can see how that's the bottom of my trunk there. Okay, so it's going to be out of sight. So I'm putting one hand inside the box and one hand on the outside and just molding that stitched shape into place there. Glue from the front to the back. Okay. The other thing that what I'll do while I'm waiting for that glue to go tacky, I'm going to get this magnet. I'm going to put it behind here. So this is, so you need a pair. This is the negative, and that just goes behind there like that. Now this glue's tacky, so I'm going to put it on the lid and it will stick a lot easier. Ooh, it's wobbly. Carefully bring that round to the front and just mould that. Press it down a little bit, making sure that it's sticking really well. So it was the reinforcing in here, which will make a lot of difference, making it more secure. So this is our 1-inch strip, and I need to burnish those score lines. There we go. Voila. You can decorate it however you want. This one I've put happy birthday. Oh, I can't remember which stamp set that's from. It's from Label Me Bold. And then this is the Come Sail Away embellishments and a little bit of the twine that goes with it. And you could put sweets in there. Thanks very much for listening. Hope you try it. If you want to get hold of the English instructions, then email me at bronwynstampsau@gmail.com and I'd be happy to send the instructions out to you. Love to see what you make and how you feel it. So tag me if you try it, post it on Facebook and tag me in it. Would love to see it. Thanks for listening today. Bye.